Hi, everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes to speak with you regarding some concerns we have here at the high school and concerns you probably have at home as a parent regarding e-cigarettes and vapes and their gaining popularity with our students. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk to you about this and talk about how we can partner together to help our students deal with the pressures associated with vaping and e-cigarettes. So you all have probably heard of an e-cigarette. They're devices that operate by heating a liquid solution, and it produces an aerosol that's inhaled. So if you've ever seen one of these in action, you notice some white billowing smoke that comes, just rises above the heads of some folks as they're smoking it. Sometimes there's a smell, sometimes they're not, but it doesn't give you that typical cigarette smell that you would smell when you're around somebody who's smoking a traditional cigarette. So an e-cigarette has liquids that are in them that heat to a high temperature to produce that vapor that you see. When we look here at what the vaping devices are, if you look to the far left, you can see that the traditional original e-cigarettes looked like cigarettes. And then they looked kind of a little bit more like a vaping device with a tank and a place for folks to inhale. And then as you move toward the middle, you can see newest ones, which are called JUULS, and that's JUUL. And those look like almost flash drives, a computer. So it's nothing that you can even or would think anything of typically. And so if you look to the right, you can see the size of them. And also you can see some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, and they look just like they're some sort of computer tool to save some information on. So recognizing these is going to be the first step to see if your child is using these types of devices. So here's how it works. There's a lithium ion battery. When the user inhales it, it makes contact with the battery and activates a heating element, and the liquid from the cartridge is heated and vaporized. We've also seen a couple students have had issues with the heating element and the battery in their vape or their JUUL, and it's exploded. So there's a bit of a danger to these as they're heating up this liquid to produce this vape that comes out when you exhale. The liquid cartridge can contain diethylene or glycol. All these things listed here: glycerin, water, flavored nicotine, and other unknown chemicals. So as you can see in this picture, those chemicals, they kind of look like you would, some of you are buying essential oils, things like that. They're kind of looking almost the same as that. So make sure you're reading those labels closely when you see some of those items in your home or in the stores. The JUUL, however, is a little bit different as it's gained popularity. It heats up, and while the other ones use the flavors and things, JUULs really do have nicotine. And so a single JUUL cartridge is roughly equal to a pack of cigarettes or 200 cigarette puffs. So if you go to supportjuul.com, you can read all kinds of information about that. So while we've heard a lot of things, vaping safer than cigarettes, all these kinds of things, with the introduction of the JUUL, we're really kind of stepping things up, and it's really mimicking the effects that those cigarettes have on providing that nicotine to your body. The current from the National Youth Tobacco Survey in 2017, you can see in 2011, high school students, 1.5% used e-cigarettes, and in 2017 it jumped to 11.7%. And in middle school, it really jumped as well. So we're seeing the usage kind of increasing here. So at Red Bank, we did a youth survey last school year. Students in grades 6, 8, 10, and 12 took this survey. So these are our students in our school. 10% of 6th grade, 14.5% of 8th grade, 25.5% of 10th grade, and 64.7% of last grade year's seniors have reported using an e-cigarette, vape, or JUUL in the last 30 days. I was shocked when I saw this, and I'm also shocked by some of the things I'm hearing through students and folks who are just, this is something that they think is harmless, and so that's why I wanted to bring this awareness to you so that we can kind of look at this and see what's happening among our students and why they think that this is something that is good for you or fun or popular or whatever what they're thinking at this point. But why? Why do they love to do it? Well, they think everyone's doing it. It's fun. It's cool. If you get on social media, get on Instagram, Snapchat, we're making shapes in the sky with the vapes. Those are kinds of things that these kids are doing. They're also small. They're easy to hide. While we've confiscated some, there are some more out there that we have not yet found, and they're very small. And like I said, disguise themselves as flash drives. So that's one of the things, and they think it's one of those things that they think it's pretty cool among themselves. I'm not sure that they realize the dangers of it, though. Why is it dangerous? Well, nicotine can harm the developing teen brain, and also, most of you know, nicotine is a gateway to marijuana and cocaine usage as well. If you look over to this picture, cannabis oil, THC, those things are also being added to the JUULS to be able to inhale. So there's different kinds of liquids that can go in there, and while students are using them, that's a problem in and of itself, but the fact is we're not quite sure what they're adding to those when they're inhaling them. So as far as consequences, we have consequences here at the high school. It falls under the PA Act 168 of the Tobacco Control Act. It's a level 4 violation, so we'll confiscate the paraphernalia, and there's an immediate 10-day out. If a student is in sports, they're out of sports for at least those 10 days. And in my experience, they've been off the team for the rest of the season. This is that important. Also, there's a referral to our student assistance program for tobacco cessation classes so that we can get the students the help they need. But the number one consequence is there's health risks to these. So I just want to impress upon you as much as I can the importance of being aware of what's happening and being aware of what your students may or may not have in their possession. Talk to your kids about vaping, have those conversations, tell them your expectations. This is what I expect. Again, be a role model. And I know some of you're adults, you smoke, and that's okay. But try to keep some of those things away from your students so they don't have access to those. Recognize the signs of vaping. You can see the equipment or packaging. If there's unusual online purchases, you might catch a whiff of a flavoring on your child's breath, like bubblegum or chocolate. Check to make sure your child doesn't have increased thirst or nosebleeds. If they're drinking less caffeine. If they're using vaping lingo, and I had to Google that. So if you Google vaping lingo, you can see what some of the letters mean. See if they're doing that, if you're checking your child's texts. And then any kind of behavior changes that they're having. That's something to kind of keep an eye on. So it's very important to partner with the school. Let us know what's going on. And together we can work with this and help our students to make choices and to be successful in and out of school. Thanks so much for listening.